Cards number 2 by Matthew Gonsalves. An organism, a living thing, a living thing. Habitat, an environment that provides the things an organism needs to live, grow, and reproduce. An animal or plant's home. Biotic factor, a living part of an organism's habitat, a plant or animal that is in an organism's habitat. Abiotic factor, a non-living part of an organism's habitat, a natural land formation in an organism's habitat. Species, a group of organisms that are physically similar and can mate with each other and produce offspring that can also mate and reproduce. Animals that can produce fertile offspring. Photosynthesis, the process in which organisms use water along with sunlight and carbon dioxide to make their own food. The process in which plants make their own food. Population, all the members of a species in a certain particular area. All the members of one species. Community, all the different populations together in one area. Different populations in one area. Ecosystem, the community of organisms that live in a particular area with non-living organisms, the community of organisms that live in an area. Ecology, the study of living things and how they live and interact with each other, a study of everything living and what they do. Estimate, an approximate number based on reasonable assumptions, a reasonable guess. Birth rate, the number of births in a population in a certain amount of time. The number of births in a population in a certain amount of time. Death rate, the number of deaths in a population in a certain amount of time. The number of people who died in a certain amount of time. Immigration, moving to a population. Emigration, leaving a population. Population density, all the members of one species in a particular area. How many organisms are in one area. Limiting factor, an environmental factor that causes the population to decrease. Something that causes the population to go down. Carrying capacity, the largest population an area can support. The maximum population an area can support. Natural selection, the process by which characteristics that make an individual better suited to its environment because it's more popular in a species. A process that makes certain characteristics more common in a species. Adaptations, a behavior or physical characteristics that allows an organism to live successfully in its environment. A change in an organism's environment which makes it live more successfully. Niche, a role of an organism in its habitat and how it makes its living. A factor of an animal's in its habitat. Competition, the struggle between organisms to survive as they attempt to use the same limited resource. How animals struggle to survive on the same limited resource. Predation, an interaction in which one organism kills another for food. The exchange of one organism to another for food. Predator, the organism that does the killing in a predation interaction. The animal that kills the other for food. Prey, the organism that is killed and eaten by another organism. An animal that got killed and eaten. Symbiosis, a close relationship between two species that benefit at least one of the two species. A relationship that helps one or more in the relationship. Mutualism, a relationship between two species in which both benefit. A relationship between two species where they both benefit. Commensalism, a relationship between two species in which one species benefit and the other is neither helped or harmed. A relationship that is good for one but has no effect on the other. Parallelism, a relationship in which one organism lives on or in a host and harms it. An organism that lives on or in another one and damages it. Parasite, the organism that benefits by living on a host in a parasitism interaction. The organism that benefits by living on a host. Host, the organism that a parasite lives in or on in a parallelism interaction. The organism that has a parasite in it. Succession, a series of predictable changes that occurs in a community over time. A series of predictable changes. Primary succession, the series of changes that occurs in an area where no soil or organisms exist. Changes that occur in an area where no soil or organisms exist. First, pioneer species, the first species to populate an area first. The first species to populate an area. Secondary succession, the series of changes that occur in an area where the ecosystem has been disturbed, but where the soil and organisms still exist. Changes that occur in an area where the ecosystem has been disturbed. Those are all 35 words.